Last November, I made a wreath from magnolia leaves gathered from my neighbor's tree, with their permission, of course. This spring, I stepped out my front door and was startled by the sudden swoosh of wings brushing past my head. Once I caught my breath, I realized a pair of industrious house finches had built a nest in the upper corner of the wreath. Peeking inside, I saw a single tiny egg. Above me, the father finch perched in the porch rafters was watching me carefully. Nearby, the mother finch had taken refuge in a holly tree after our near collision. Then together, they took refuge further from me on the phone cables above the driveway. Over the next several days, the nest slowly filled. First one egg, then three, then five. 15 days after I noticed that first egg, I looked inside and saw the first hatchling resting on top of the other eggs. At first, I worried it might not be alive. Then drawing more close, I noticed the faintest movements, the tiny rhythm of breathing. Within a few days, more chicks hatched. At one point, I became concerned that one might be missing. I found myself surprisingly attached to these tiny birds I'd only just met. Each morning, I would quietly sneak outside and check on them before beginning my day. At first, the chicks were almost impossible to distinguish from one another. Just a soft, undulating ball of pink skin and downy fuzz. But gradually, individual beaks appeared, then blinking eyes, then from the fuzz grew feathers. One day, a chick opened its eyes and stared right back at me. Another, perhaps sensing a parental presence, instinctively opened its beak, expecting food. Unfortunately, I had no worms handy in my pocket to give. As the days passed, the chicks slowly began to resemble miniature versions of their parents, more alert, curious, and increasingly aware of the world beyond the nest. Maybe they, like human teens, were eager to grow up fast. Or maybe they just wanted to move out of the nests, whose walls I had noticed were being continually reinforced by their mother's droppings as she stopped by for feedings. I thought how thankful I was that I wasn't raised in a guano-strewn home. My mother hen kept quite a neat and tidy nest. Then one morning, 33 days after noticing that first egg, I found only 3 birds left in the nest. A couple of the siblings had apparently found the courage to try their wings. And finally, the next day, I opened the door to find just one little finch remaining. But immediately upon noticing me, it hopped to the edge of the nest and launched itself into the air, flying directly into that same holly tree where its mother had fled weeks earlier. When I looked more closely, I could see the entire little finch family scattered among the branches, all watching me with understandable suspicion. I found myself oddly emotional staring at the empty nest. Over those few weeks, this tiny nest on my porch had become an invitation to slow down and to pay attention. One of the central practices of mindfulness is simply noticing, pausing long enough to fully experience what is happening around us. Nature certainly makes this easier for me. Beauty interrupts my momentum. It pulls me out of autopilot and back into presence. Something as small as a bird building a nest can become an entire world when we slow down enough to notice it. And research has drawn a clear connection between our contentment and such moments of presence and experiences of awe. The bird songs that the finches sang reminded me of lines from one of my poets, Mary Oliver. She wrote, "I do not know what gorgeous thing the bluebird keeps saying, his voice easing out of his throat, beak, body, into the pink air of the early morning. I like it, whatever it is. Sometimes it seems the only thing in the world that is without dark thoughts. Sometimes it seems the only thing in the world that is without questions that can't and probably never will be answered. The only thing that is entirely content with the pink, then clear white morning, and gratefully says so."